Well, good morning and welcome to episode 271 of Hobby Hotline. I'm Danny Black, joined by Victor and the Bible of the hobby, Uncle Rich Klein. How's that for a new one?
That is a new one.
I know. I worked on it all week.
I'm impressed.
Um, Excited to have you guys on. We actually have a fun week of topics. We got lots of good mornings. I'm going to just try to keep them up going here. Victor.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning, chat.
morning.
All right.
Yes, we got a busy chat already. I'm going to
That's
just
awesome.
get some of these on here. Tell everybody who you are and where they can find you. It's been a while.
Victor at any social media platform at true_RCS. And how many of us actually enjoy Uncle Rich's new angle here? This is coming straight from his shoe, I think.
Hey, look, is this better than the box or not?
I love it. It works, man. It works.
Look, I've come from the box. Now I'm coming from the angle. And I've come as the disembodied voice. Now at least you see my face.
You've come so far.
Why anybody would want to see my face, but at least you see it.
Uncle Rich, it's been a while. Tell everybody.
It's been a while. It's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
I write that once a month column for Hobby News Daily, which is always fun. And I'm still at ComC, where I have a blast playing with cards virtually every day. I get to play with cards. I never get to see them. And you'll find me on Facebook as Rich Klein, and you'll find me on Twitter as Uncle Rich Klein, and you can find me on LinkedIn as Rich Klein, and you can find me on Substack too, because I joined that for the sheer joy of it. And I'm not on Threads because until they figure out how to do desktop, I'm not going to worry about Threads, and we'll go from there. And usually you can reach me if you want to. Right now, my home computer's down, so please forgive any delays in trying to reach me.
No problem. Cooter Love says, let's start a GoFundMe to buy Uncle Rich a webcam and a tripod.
This is a webcam, folks.
If it doesn't work for my slabs, we'll do it for Uncle Rich. That's hysterical. Rich, we're happy to have you, and your face is on camera, and that's all that matters.
Hey, that's an improvement over previous things. So we'll take
maybe that's not the good. Maybe it's not good. Oh, here we go. Rich is outside the box. I love it. Mookie, good morning. Oh, always good to hear from him. So I want to have a little fun today. A lot of seriousness that I think we could all escape from and have a little hobby love this morning. I mean, things are getting a little crazy over at Topps and Fanatics, and I just don't know what to say anymore. We have a third superfractor for a 1 of 1.
Can I say something?
Please, Rich.
You get a superfractor, and you get a superfractor, and you get a superfractor.
Well, Rich, I know you have thoughts on this. I want to come back to you. Victor, real quick. Didn't Topps put out the apology and the bounty, and weren't we past this?
Yes, that's what I read.
So how infuriating are you if you're a collector right now?
Very, very concerned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rich, how does this happen? Explain how the second one might happen.
The second one made a lot more sense. You make a backup in case something gets wrong in the printing process and somebody gets a damaged card, the corner's crinkled, there's a minor crease. You have a backup to send to the collector who gets annoyed. But the third one is a problem because you shouldn't have a third one. And you can, and that's why when we talked about this the last time, I was okay with the second one because it's a normal production thing. And I don't know. I know that when Fanatics, and I'm going to say the first news that many of us had about Fanatics grabbing all those Panini employees or whatever term you want to use was when I saw on LinkedIn this was not a Beckett guy, but one of the guys I knew at Panini fairly well was now head of the printing press where Fanatics and Topps and Panini makes their cards. And I don't know, and I'm not going to say something, but I wonder how many people they kept. I hope they kept most of them. And I'm going to switch for a second on this. One of the best things the new management of the NSCC, the National, did was they kept people like Ray Schulte and Megan Brogy. Megan is the dealer, I'll call her the dealer sales rep, the dealer coordinator, the person who calms down every dealer who can't get a table, the one who works, she's Saint Megan in my opinion. And Ray Schulte is one of the very best PR people the hobby's ever had. And so they were very wise in keeping those people. Now, I hope, and I do not know because I have no idea, even though I can walk to if it's a long hike, but I can do it, it's less than a mile. I can walk to the printing press from this office. But one of the things is that I hope they kept a lot of the people who were involved previously in printing cards because they had the experience, they knew what they were doing, and as such, you want to keep the people proud of their work. I tell the story that when, I guess it's 6 years ago now, 5 years ago. It's 5 years ago. I think it's 5 years ago when the industry summit was in Dallas and we took the tour of the printing press, they were still upset that when they did box topper cards for a product and Beckett graded them, they were 8.5s and 9s and 8s, and there were very few 9.5s and 10s. That's how proud they were of their work. They wanted every card to be a 9.5 or a 10. And so I hope that they kept the people who understood and had the great pride in making their cards. And that, to me, and that's why I'm saying I'm glad the NSCC, and eventually you will have to change personnel. Eventually, nobody lives forever, maybe with the exception of Victor and his rookie card thing, is that you want to have continuity. And you want to have people who know what to do. And it's okay. I don't want the hobby experts putting the one-on-ones into the packs because they may not put the best one-on-ones in the pack. You don't want to have somebody who knows the hobby doing that. You want somebody who doesn't care. Your job is every 5 boxes, or every 50 boxes, put one of these in. Most people, you don't want somebody who, you hand them stats. Okay, fine. Okay, 49.50 next card goes in. So that's what you want. And if you're not getting that, then you've got to start realizing that you better start improving your production techniques.
So Chris Harris, I believe the Chris Harris, I should have introduced him correctly, is not rocking in the free world. He took a moment to text us and said, bad quality control is what happens when you give a company a monopoly license. Well, Rich, to your point, it's a staffing and printing quality control issue, not a decision made anywhere above. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I think. I don't think because look at all the negative feedback you get. You don't want negative feedback. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think after the last time I was on Hobby Hotline, Topps had a Rip Party night. And they got all their stores involved. They sent boxes. They sent prizes. They sent stuff to every store involved. I went to one of the parties. It was wonderful. Other places got even better stuff. That's fine. I was very happy. I walked in. They handed me a blaster box of Heritage. I can't complain. It's Heritage. They did a great job prepping things for the event. They're doing a lot of really good PR stuff. So doing all that PR stuff is great, but sometimes you got to remember balls and strike count. Hitting the home run is wonderful, but sometimes you just got to get the singles and the walks and the base hits and move your runners along. And as Bo points out, that in 1 Million Cubs, they have had a lot of issues with many releases. And I mean, Topps over the years, and so has Panini, every company has issues with a release. You don't always know what's going to happen until you actually hit the printing press. You can prep all you want. I mean, last week you talked about a certain card from 1989.
Yep.
With a little problem on the back barrel.
Yep, Rick Face.
Yeah, Rick Face. You talked about Rick Face last week.
Yeah.
And in those days, you were making one set, and still that got through with all the eyes. So mistakes happen. So I'm a little cautious about saying it's deliberate. I don't think it's deliberate. I just think that you've got to take steps along the way. I reiterate the story I used to tell. When because I'm old, I talk about WABC in New York, and Rick Sklar, their program director during their big glory years when you could hear the WABC signal all the way up and down the East Coast as a clear channel station. And Dan Ingram was number 3 ranked in Pittsburgh, coming out of New York. He was the 3rd ranking disc jockey in Pittsburgh. And they got off the air once. And he sat there with the engineer, and he wrote in his book, Sound Check America, whatever it was called, a very fun read. It was 11 steps that had to happen for WABC to go off the air for 10 minutes. And all 11 steps happened. So even with 11 steps that had to happen, WABC still went off the air for 10 minutes, not 5 seconds of dead air, but we're talking about 10 minutes of being off the air. So there can be a whole sequence of events. And what you do is you create as many things as possible to prevent this from happening, but mistakes are still going to happen. I mean, I can go, and trust me, being the error and variations guy that I was at Beckett, I can tell you there were lots of mistakes from Topps back in the day when there was one set a year. I mean, my favorite is Archie skiing. I think it's card 427 and 64. He's on a 2-player rookie card. Archie has retired to become a school teacher. Then why are you putting him on a card? The Archie Skiing Investing Club has just ended. He's not playing. I mean, you got to be careful. And they missed it. And he's retired. I mean, I'm glad they updated the card, but I mean, think how ludicrous that is. And there was another thing and there's some OPG cards where they talk about so-and-so is retired from baseball and hockey. I think there's a Brian Glennie card. Things happen. So I don't want to blame anybody. I don't think it's deliberate. I don't think Michael Rubin is sending messages from above saying, screw this up. I guarantee you he's probably saying, why is this happening?
Yeah.
So let's just fix problems.
Rich,
do the best you can, but understand it's still human beings doing things.
Let me throw a question to Victor real quick because I want him to respond to a comment that came up, but I want to clarify something real quick. Foul ball, 1 retail, 1 hobby, 1 jumbo. That's how you get to 3. I would understand, but they apologized after 2. So that's not the plan. Victor, I think you were reacting to one of the comments. Am I right?
Well, for me, where I'm at with this is, and it's hard for me because I don't open new product. I'm more of a singles. I purchase singles, and I purchase the only new product that comes through my hands is stuff that I'll buy in bulk. But I don't open up product. But listening to like the comment of Bo, somebody who does open up product pretty consistently, and he sees an issue in the last couple of years where we have miscue after miscue, and my biggest concern now, I heard with Stadium Club now they went ahead and put a delay on it till 2024, and my feeling is with the quality control issues that we're having, let's just cancel 2024 Stadium Club. Why we would bring something out a year or 2 later is ludicrous to me. But I'm interested in asking Rich, because he probably knows the process better than any of us. Where exactly do you think in the process? I mean, is this like a machine issue, like a mechanical issue? Is it an operational? Where do you think the miscue is happening in production?
For 101s, you have to make a separate sheet. You can't put them on the main sheet. Your base cards are all that you have hundreds of sheets for, or thousands of sheets, or how many sheets. But all your inserts, all your parallels, all your things have to be on separate sheets. And so it could be anything up to you made 3 sheets instead of 2. So I don't know. That is we are speculating. We do not know facts.
Yeah.
And as you see with all the things going around in the world, knowing facts is a big thing. I mean, there's a lot going on that you want to be first with the news, but you also want to be accurate with your facts.
Yeah.
So we don't know, did they make 3? And if they made 3 sheets, then you could very easily have the situation where somebody who doesn't know doesn't know about, hey, they're told is to put one card in every 50 boxes or 45, 500 packs or whatever. They don't know about all, hey, this is the same person. All they know is we got to put them in.
Yeah.
And so that's not so. That's where I'm guessing this is coming from. I am speculating. Do not have facts.
Yeah, and I know as a machinist by craft, I know machinery sometimes needs to be calibrated. Sometimes there's miscues that happen with machinery that can cause an error like this. But I don't know the process. You only get little snippets here and there of video of the actual cards running through the machines. But none of us really know the complete process. But this is very, it causes, for me anyways, my consumer confidence is lowered. And when
and remember, when I say the human people, when you open your Topps packs, have you ever noticed that if it's a really special card, it's upside down in the pack?
Yeah, I have noticed that.
That's why, because that's where the human person is putting in the card into the special card into the packs.
Yeah.
Bo has an interesting comment here. He said a local card shop owner sent him a photo of their delivery of pallet of Topps Pro debut this week. It was sent direct from the printer in a Sprinter van. Typically, it's delivered by a freight company, full trailer. I'd be curious how far from the printer that card shop is, actually. That's interesting. I don't know if they're taking Sprinter vans to the state of Washington from Texas, but I'd be very curious, because that would be certainly I think visually, or the optics are, they're taking more control of the process. If that's
and Bo has worked in transportation, so he knows more than we do about that part of it.
Yeah.
So
here's the answer: several states away. Well, that's very interesting. So, Bo, does that impact the quality of the service? I guess is the question there. I think that's what you're implying, but I'm curious. Here's one for you, Rich. I think this is what you were talking about. They may have run 3. They may ultimately run 50 sheets until they get the offset correct on the press. And Victor, if it, like you said, if something needs to be calibrated, there could be a lot of sheets printed. Yeah. Who knows?
Has there been a press release by Topps on this third one? Has anybody seen that?
Not that I've seen. If anybody sees it, I'd be very. Now, here's the question: they put out a bounty on number 2. Well, if you send in number 3, do they have a way to tell, or is the bounty now for both cards?
Great question.
I mean, if I'm Topps, you kind of got to honor that bounty, don't you, for the third card, Victor?
Well, I suspect
think so.
Unless there was a date saying you have to send it in by such date, you would think that they would have to.
Yeah, I mean, Mookie says the biggest issue here is Fanatics doesn't know how big the problem is. You can't properly address an error you don't understand. Well, I think that's getting back into where the quality control is.
And I think Victor pointed out something very good too. Stadium Club, there was a release. We've discovered problems. We are holding off on sending. And part of us wants to have the products come out when they're supposed to come out. The other part of us says, I can understand if they put the wrong person on a card. That's going to happen. Sometimes, some players do look alike.
Sure.
You give me 2 generic relief pitchers from the Philadelphia Phillies. They might look alike. They throw 98 miles an hour. They probably look similar enough. You can get their photos wrong. And I'm just using Phillies as a generic. But it's, that happens. But if it's a printing issue and you're catching it, it's better to catch it and prevent things like this from happening again. And maybe that will be part going forward. Like, let's not have this happen again. And if that comes out, that's a positive. So, it's not the worst. It's not great. It's a terrible look. But if it turns into something good, then I don't have a real problem with, okay, we screwed up. It happens. We can go back to the 1990s. I can show you pre-production stuff that slipped out of factories, in Stadium Club, 91 Stadium Club, and it's the quote proofs. Who knows where they came out? And so that happened 30 years ago. So it happens. I mean, things have slipped out of the factory for years. Things have made mistakes for years. The idea is to reduce your errors to a minimum. You can never get rid of them totally. And if you do things like this that you recover from, it's a good thing. Like last year, Topps Chrome, where they forgot these super short print cards. And people started noticing, where are these super short print cards? And then the product plummeted in price. They did the MVP promotion. And the MVP promotion, they worked with their stores. I mean, I know Rex talked when it came on, it was 17 cards that went into his store in the first hour. And I know he got a lot more than that. And they found a way to get people to go into stores to redeem cards that otherwise, and to get value out of boxes that otherwise were cratering. So there's always ways to fix things, but you don't want to be doing recovery every single product. You want your products to come out, and you want them to kind of stand on their own. You don't want to have to feel that you have to do, be Tony Romo on a 3rd and 26, or the Philadelphia Eagles guy, Donovan McNabb, to Freddie Mitchell, 4th and 27, and he makes that miracle catch.
You Dallas guys always talking about the Cowboys.
You want to get first downs.
I know. You know it's going to be an NFC East reference. TJ is online. He said issues with Allen and Ginter as well. I have not heard about Allen and Ginter issues, but it's really surprising me at this point. Jim in Florida talking about modern cards, $20 a pack, and I still can't get a card without print lines, dimples, or chipped edges. Not wrong. I think that's part of the reason that people have gone.
And I did box reviews for Sports Collectors daily and for 7 years. And I did probably 300-400 boxes. And in those years, I had exactly 2 boxes, both of which were Topps Chrome football, that I did not get the promised hits from. And I always told people, hey, I may not get the great hit, but if you're giving me what the box is telling me I should get, that is sufficient. I don't worry about the other mistakes. I mean, sometimes I have bigger issues with having to wait. I had bigger issues with having to wait 2 weeks to write reviews to figure out, did I have any error cards or did I have any pose variations? Because to me, that's providing full checklists with all the variations is just as important. Because if you have 6 variations on a heritage card, you should tell people either that or you put it on the back of the card. And if you don't put it on the back of the card, you tell people, hey, what is a team color variation? There's a team color variation. There's a image variation. There's a action variation. There's all the different variations. And if you do that, then, knowledge may be king, but telling people is even more important. The more information you provide, the better it is for all concerned.
Absolutely. Victor, go for it.
Yeah, I just I'd like to add something as far as Topps releasing these press releases, kind of explaining what happened. If I had a chance to talk to Topps, I would say that this is a good move. Even though you're probably getting punched in the face for releasing these press releases, I still think it's better than the alternative where it seemed like we had no communication for decades. There was questions, mistakes, and miscues, and there was absolutely zero explanation as to what happened. Here lately, they have been releasing these press releases, and I think I like that move, and I want to encourage them to continue doing such. Because it helps us at least grieve the miscue, right? And help us kind of filter our thoughts into what's going on.
Well, I'm gonna make 2 points here. I'm actually gonna throw it back to you. The first one is a lot of what Rich is explaining, what people are talking about, is I think what leads to some of the tinfoil hat theories that such a series of things could or may go wrong, over and over. is I think when you think of Fanatics being such a large company or Panini being a large company, that you don't expect it. But like Rich says, but it happens. It's happened forever.
Sure.
And then Bo, just to answer my question from before, I just want to follow up. He said the Sprinter van delivery, it's not a quality issue. It's really a shipping price issue, which is interesting, that it cost more to come on the Sprinter, which makes plenty of sense. But Victor, you were talking about if you could talk to tops, that you would want to give them feedback. And I want to use this as an opportunity to let you talk about when companies do give an opportunity for feedback, why people should maybe take advantage of giving comments on surveys and I want to tangent a little bit because I think this is important.
Yeah, I just, to me it comes from a couple of things. The first one, just being a content creator myself, when you commit to creating video content week after week, it helps when you have feedback from your viewership. And coupled to that, I was cleaning up my emails this week, and I ran across an email from Sports Collectors Digest, and they were asking, they created a survey, and it was asking for feedback on their magazine. Now, as I do get their monthly magazine, and I remember reading Collectors Digest for many years, and here lately, they've started creating magazines again, and you hear a lot of things on social media, positive and negative, right, about the magazine. And I just think that this is our chance now. I think it's important, as this company releases this survey asking for feedback, and they're wanting to know how they can make the magazine better for us. And I just think it's, as collectors, as the hobby, we need to take advantage of when a company opens up the door to that, because I think it's honest. They're looking for honest feedback and how they can make things better, and I'm all for it.
Well, one of the questions they asked is, do you like content including a certain column called "The Hobby is the People" or something like that? And
I think I know that guy.
Yeah, we may have come run across him. I hear he's at some show today.
Yeah. Otherwise, he'd be sitting in my chair. Trust me. But Victor, I couldn't agree more. And I wanted to use that example of a chance where I've seen other companies in the hobby actually put out surveys. And I've heard from people that they get a very low response, which is typical for a survey in general. They 1% or 1/10 of 1%, whatever the number is. But if you're in chat rooms and you go to message boards and you follow content, give companies feedback, give content creators feedback. It can only make the hobby better, and it lets your voice be heard. So I thought that was an important point that you brought up, and I wanted to get it in earlier.
Also, remember, these companies, a Sports Collectors Digest has a huge e-list. If they get 10% of everybody who's on their emailing list, that's still a very significant response. I have 1,000 names, give or take, on my mailing list. If I got 10%, I'm hearing from 100 people. The odds are pretty good that the response would be accurate, but it's not a guarantee. It's about 125 people usually is considered the first way to know how accurate your survey responses are going to be. So I'm pretty sure Sports Collectors Digest got past 125. And you have them, and Beckett's done surveys. Other companies have done surveys. And, one issue you have as a content creator, and this is not a knock, is that there's not a lot of ways for you to curate a mailing list. Yep. I think that's, you get your thing, you post on Twitter, but I think an emailing list or a text list, I'm not good with text, but if I were better with text, I'd make sure I have a text list too. That lists like people like that to have communication with are very important. As I say, I send out no more. I tell people, unless I screw up something and there's an emergency, I never want to send out more than one email a week to my mailing list. I always make that promise that unless I screw up, and of course, the biggest response I got this year, the most opens I got, is when I had to write an oops email. That actually had the biggest open percentage of any email I've sent all year. And I don't know what that tells you, but I don't want to send out more than one email. I don't want to inundate you. I don't want to inundate you. I want you to know what you're getting. I want you to know you're going to get promos for whether me as ComC is setting up at one of Kyle Robertson's Dallas Card Show team shows, or whether I'm doing my synagogue show, or whether there's going to be an event like the Tops Rip Party, which is a very positive event, which was hey, these stores local to me, RJ Dukes and the Beast and Masons, and you can go on, and here's a link to the Tops website if you're not close to those stores to see if somebody's doing the Tops Rip Party. Things like that I want to promote, because I want to promote the positive things. I don't want to promote, hey, did you see you getting a 101 and you're getting a 101? Go back to that. But I want to promote the positive things. But we want to be positive, but we also have to be understanding that things happen. And you just want to shake your head sometimes, as the kids say.
SMH. So I actually did want to talk about somebody who I think is a very big positive, and somebody who we actually have not heard from in a while in the hobby, and that is Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan has signed an exclusive with Panini, and I believe it's been 20 years since he's signed for cards in the hobby. And I just, first of all, Panini now has, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Mbappe, Luka Doncic, Christian Pulisic, Tim Duncan. I mean, they're building a stable of exclusive autographs, almost in the mold of an Upper Deck or Leaf or a company that may not have a license. Is that the way you read this, Victor, or am I totally wearing my tinfoil hat now?
I do. I think it's a pretty impressive power move here by Panini to sign Tim, and I think they're continuing to build that roster despite of what's happening in the legal system. And I think it's an indication of them that, hey, we're not out of this by no stretch. So good on them.
I also think it's a great move on a different level. And I don't know who David Robinson is signing with, but one of the things, if you sign Duncan and then if you sign Robinson, Fanatics can't do the Wembanyama Robinson Duncan combo cards. So it's a great move. I mean, I'm sure people would rather have it, but then you don't get those combo cards of the great San Antonio Spurs centers. And I think that to me is a good blocking move. I also saw an interesting comment, I believe, from Mookie Chilson a while back about, one of the things Fanatics was complaining about in the lawsuit was the quality of, I think it was something about, Rich Muller in Sports Collectors, one of his Sports Collectors Daily articles, noted that about 2 days after the 101 things was done, the lawsuit that Panini filed against Fanatics was amended to include their recent production issues. And in other words, they are paying attention to it. It's like, okay, if you're going to say we can't do it, look at yourself. And so, that has been added to the lawsuit. And Paul Lesko can probably explain better than any of us how that is done. But sure enough, it's been added. And, so that's something else to remember. If you're Fanatics, you really don't want to make any big errors, because then all you're doing is helping the lawsuit that Panini is making. And you don't want to help that lawsuit.
Well, one would say that production errors, not to go backwards here, but 3 of ones wouldn't help their case. Victor, what are we thinking? Does this make you want to go buy Panini more? Is Tim Duncan a person who gets people to open packs, or is it just been 20 years, so it's worthwhile?
Yeah, I tell you, I'm a big Tim Duncan fan. I'm actually building his set registry of rookie cards, and I only need like 4 more cards to complete it. But I do know that historically speaking, Tim Duncan was a very tough autograph to get. He does not sign with a lot of people at all. And this is for those who have been around and been wanting a Tim Duncan rookie card and have not, or a signature card, but haven't been able to get it. Man, this is huge to 90s basketball card collectors, because he's typically historically been so tough to get. So this is, I don't know about Is it going to want, is it going to lead me to bust open a box? Probably not. But am I going to look for a single on the secondary market? Absolutely.
Jim in Florida says, doesn't Duncan signing more autographs make his old ones worth less? What do you think, Rich?
Nah, they'll be fine.
Yeah,
they'll be fun. I mean, you're still going to want an autograph on in today's world, you're still going to want the autograph on the rookie card and the autographs from his early days. That's fine. It's not going to make it worth less because these autographs, they'll be on 2023 cards or 2024 cards. So they're not going to be, or they might be, I believe Panini still has the college-like uniform license or whatever that term is. You can always put them on a Wake Forest card. So it's not, I mean, when Panini signed Charles Barkley, the first cards they put him on were college cards because they had that license. So before they could get him onto the NBA cards, they got him onto, I believe he played, where did he play, Georgia? They got him to or Auburn, wherever he played, they got him the cards from his college, with a college uniform. So that also gives you extra flexibility. And
that's interesting.
It's not a huge name. I mean, but it's the fact that he hasn't signed for a card company for 20 years is important. As I said, it's not like it wouldn't be like Michael Jordan leaving Upper Deck.
Do you think
it wouldn't be like LeBron James leaving Upper Deck? He's definitely not at that level.
This is an important one. Talk to me when Panini signs the Duncan Dutchman Rick Smits. I'm sorry, Victor. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, do you think that this is their way of replacing Victor Wembanyama since they can't get his autograph because he signed with Topps? Is this their way of kind of adding some juice to their product?
I think anytime you add a first ballot Hall of Famer, it certainly doesn't hurt. And as I said, it's a block move too. If the old Hollywood Squares, Paul Lynn for the block, and I'm showing my age there,
and I'm laughing because I get it.
And the point is, though, that you're also, as I said, preventing them from doing a Wembanyama Duncan card, signed duo card.
Well,
and there would be interest in that. I mean, it would bring up interest in that. And then if you have Robinson, then Wembanyama, if he turns out to be great, then these cards are good. But if he doesn't, then it would have been helped by having the other two guys.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Victor.
I have never really understood, and with Tim Duncan's resume, I think he's been one of the most underrated or undervalued Hall of Famers in the hobby. I mean, when you really sit back and pay attention to what he's done, it's pretty impressive. But I think a lot of it is he hasn't been a very marketable player. So I think that's what's kind of hurt him too.
Well, I think the only time I remember him in ads was like when he was a rookie and he and David Robinson did like the one-on-one in the driveway, playing one-on-one.
Yeah.
He was, I think a nickname for him, if it wasn't, it would have been a good one, Mr. Fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
The big fundamental.
The big fundamental. Where he just didn't do things wrong.
I heard from somebody who is a huge trash talker.
Duncan?
I know. Can you? But it's like so is Larry Bird.
Oh, yes.
Larry Bird was famous for that. I mean,
but if anybody is a Duncan or grew up watching the Spurs, I'd love to know if that's true. There's some conversation in the chat room about how much does Duncan actually move the hobby, and I think it's a fair point. I don't know that people are rushing out to buy packs for Duncan. However, people who are putting together Hall of Fame sets, people who are looking for autographed cards of Duncan, that are newer than 20 years ago, or some of the current sets, I think there would be some interest there. I always think there's interest in Hall of Fame players, even if they're, the big fundamental and not Pistol Pete Maravich.
We didn't talk about this in the green room before the show, but speaking of the Hall of Fame, the Veterans Committee just announced 8 modern era executives, managers on the ballot. And I mean, a couple of these people, I looked, I said, a couple of these people have really good Hall of Fame resumes. And it wouldn't hurt me to see them go in. It's, to me, the best of the 8 people going in, the one I thought was going to go in was Jim Leyland, just based on my instincts. but you can make arguments for several of the people. The only person I really didn't want to see him go in is Cowboy Joe West. Even though on one level, he's one of the most famous umpires of all time.
For real.
Speaking about people not being great, but he's famous. It is the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Greatness.
But he wasn't that good. I mean,
I know, but he managed more than anybody. I mean, he umpired more games than anybody else ever. Yeah. He's got to be good enough to last that long. But then again, I guess Angel Hernandez is an umpire, so.
And the country album doesn't help me at all. Cowboy Joe West is a Hall of Famer. Chris Harris, you've gone crazy. Good morning, Jay Lee. Maybe you can help us. Is Country Joe West a Hall of Famer? What's your feeling on umpires? And how about a shout out to Jim Joyce for getting a commercial with Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah. Are we having throwback umpire love now? Here we go. Angel Hernandez should make the Hall of Fame for that logic. Exactly. Rich is now leading the Angel Hernandez for Hall of Fame.
Him and Eric Gregg. Eric Gregg with the strike zone as wide as his stomach.
Hey, I used to work for the Braves, and go back and watch some of their playoff and World Series with the strike zone that Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz got. I mean, balls in the other batter's box were called strikes. It was unbelievable.
But not in the playoffs. The regular season, yeah, the playoffs they only won 1 in 15 years.
Yeah. This is a good question, Rich. Maybe you know this better. The veteran or the Modern Era Committee is not nominating any players, just umpires, managers, execs. Is that correct? I believe it is.
I think they will be, but I think there's a sequence of how they do it. So for this year, it's no players.
Yeah. Don Deckinger helped cost the '85 Cardinals. Famous play at first base, absolutely. Levon Hernandez, sure, like Eric Gregg strike zone. That was just as comical.
That was disgraceful. Yeah.
Hall of Fame for athletes. No,
you're right, Jeremy. I respectfully disagree, especially in your sport, hockey. There are so many contributors in the Hall of Fame, and granted, some of those people probably bought their way in to some extent. But I think there's a role for contributors in the Hall of Fame. There was a chat I saw on the Great Net 54 board where somebody said Lefty O'Doul, who helped bring baseball to Japan. He owned a restaurant in San Francisco for many years that was very famous. That he was a decent enough player. He had 398 or something like that one year for the Phillies. He had like 250 hits another year. He was, and then he did all the other things. I think there's a role for contributors to be in the Hall of Fame. And I don't have a problem with contributors getting into the Hall of Fame. I mean, when they expanded and they put all the Negro League owners, they put Effa Manley, the owner of the Newark Bears, into the Hall of Fame, and I'm fine with that. It's not really a wing. It's Hall of Fame does not have to be for players. It can be for people who pushed a sport forward too.
Absolutely. Jeremy, I think they do put them in a separate wing. I don't think they get the plaque in the main hall.
Oh yeah, they do.
The umpires get the plaque,
but not the. But if you go into the Hall of Fame, like let's say Leyland makes the Hall of Fame, he'll have a plaque in the main room.
In the main room,
yes.
With the umpires too.
Yes, if you're in that way, yes. The only people who don't get in that way are the Ford Frick announcers. They have a separate wing.
Can you imagine being the person who gets into the Hall of Fame and is stuck next to Joe West? I mean, you assume it's a skinny player just so the wall lines up. Okay, we have Davey Johnson was nominated. I can get behind that. I bet Danny disagrees. I think he was nominated more for what he did as the Mets manager than maybe what he did as a player, although he did have 42 homers in Atlanta one year, I think.
When I was young, for people who may not believe I was actually young, and reading the Sporting News religiously. Sorry, Mookie, I got the team wrong.
He was at the game. He just didn't remember.
Yeah, I just didn't realize it. And Davey Johnson would actually every year sit with computers and try to program what the best Orioles lineup would be. So, I mean, he was way ahead of his time in doing analytics. He was actually doing analytics before people knew what analytics was. He was doing analytics in the late 60s and early 70s. We all thought it was a joke at those days, but it turned out he was far ahead of his time.
Earl Weaver and his index cards and his binders kept it all. Yep. Another reason why the Orioles are fantastic. Chris Harris just confirming, yes, broadcasters and writers do not get their own Hall of Fame plaques. I assume it's because the writers would argue over who would write it. Jim in Florida says, living here in Daytona, I have several Harry Wendelstedt autographs. Another great umpire name in what has become the Name Your Hall of Fame random umpire show. As we head on the home stretch here, I do want to get to something that I think was just one of the fun stories in the hobby this week. And we had a birthday for Mr. Mickey Mantle. And in honor of his birthday, the fractional share company Rally put shares of his boyhood home on sale at $7 a share. I believe is what it was, 49,000 shares, if I'm correct, which made the house worth just over 300,000. What do you guys think of this? Is fractional back? Is Mickey's house, just a little bit different than other things? Did you guys buy any, Victor?
I'm a hard pass on this one, guys. I just feel, I don't know. I guess I didn't really look into all the details, so I don't want to jump the gun too much. But just
for $7, you can get a share of Mickey Mantle's childhood home. That's pretty much the kid and caboodle.
It's kind of gimmicky. I get it. I would be more supportive if it was for like some cause, that type of thing. But okay, it's a piece of his house.
I don't care if Mantle grew up there. I'm not throwing any good money at Oklahoma real estate. That wasn't. That's hysterical. Jeremy just cleaning up here. My initial comment wasn't well thought out. I retract it. Jeremy, I should have that on my forehead. That's hysterical. Cooter, at least you can rent the house out, but it's Commerce, Oklahoma.
Cooter lives a lot closer to the house than we do.
Yeah, he would know the area. Is it a timeshare? I don't know. Maybe it's on Airbnb or something.
That would have been a better idea, I think.
Well, maybe that's how they're going to get their money back. It's goofy and silly, but if that's what someone wants to spend their money on, go for it. Bill, I'd be curious. Did you buy any shares? I know good friends of ours, some of them that are not on today because they're at card shows, that did buy shares, and a lot of them bought 7 shares at $7, just for the fun of it. So my question is, where in the house would you want to own? You got Mickey Mantle's childhood.
Hey, you know what? Give me the commode. Everybody's got to use it.
Cooter Love says local news said they want to turn it into a museum. That would be interesting, but I wonder how good of an investment it is. Museums are not known for being very.
If you turn it into a museum, you charge people to walk in the door. It's actually not a terrible idea.
They're not known for being super profitable museums, though.
Yeah, but if you own the house, you don't have, in this case, then you don't have to turn the profit the first year. You get 100, you get X people, but you've already paid the house off. So you're not paying the house off. All you have to do is pay whatever the property taxes are, and then slowly but surely, step by step, Niagara Falls, you'll make your profit.
I'd be curious if you were going near Commerce, Oklahoma. Victor, would this make you detour at all, even a little bit?
It might. But what is give me some, maybe somebody knows. I don't know. What is it? Is it an actual, like a piece of
it's
memorabilia, or like?
No, it's like collectible. You own a fractional share of the house.
Fractional share of the house. Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay. I would want the kitchen sink because they have monetized just about every single thing but the kitchen sink on Mickey Mantle.
Well, so Rich has the commode and you have the kitchen sink?
Yes, sir.
Many years ago, and when I was driving on a show trip when I was at Beckett, and I was driving between point A and point B, and I'm on the New York Thruway, I saw a sign in Conestoga, New York, Boxing Hall of Fame. I'm a boxing guy. You better believe that I turned off and made sure I went to the Boxing Hall of Fame. This is like 30 years ago. It's much better now from what I hear. But if I saw a sign saying Mickey Mantle's house, I grew up in the New York area. I saw Mickey Mantle play. Yeah, I think if I have time, I am going to go and take the tour of the house. Even if I just go once, if I pick up the little thing and say, okay, that's fine. Because it's another way to see something related to my youth.
Well, maybe,
and not everybody gets to say that. So
here we go. I want the broken siding boards from where his dad pitched to him and told him how to switch hit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Saving my money for a $900 trout.
Hey, maybe Trout's house someday will also be a fractional thing.
Jim in Florida, next day we'll be selling shares of Ted Williams' frozen head. I got to tell you guys, you sit here, you got a computer in front of you, you got a list of comments, and you got to make decisions. I went with that one mainly because I believe the family already fractionalized it, so we could talk about it. So
Mookie Chilson said he bought an acre on the moon once.
Yeah, you're right. It just hasn't paid off so far.
Oh my goodness.
Cooter Loves has put me down for a year. I mean, this is this where we're going in the hobby?
I guess so.
I mean, I'm only half kidding. We're selling literally the birthplaces and homes.
Wow.
I mean, or how far are we from finding out who his first girlfriend was and getting to take her out? I just think that some of this, they talk about fanatics making the hobby more experiential.
Yeah, I guess.
I think we have to be careful on what experiences we're pushing.
Can I ask in all seriousness, what topic would you rather talk about, this or the 3 101s?
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather. I would definitely rather talk about 3-1s. But yeah,
I'd rather talk about this. This is a fun topic. I mean, look at the great comments we're getting.
Off the air, absolutely, because I have a lot of thoughts that I'm not going to say about Ted Williams' head right now. Fractional owners of headstones. Yes.
There you go. What's
John Newman.
Where does it end?
Right. I want a Mickey Mantle 101 toothbrush holder. There you go. Although I've got teenagers, they didn't brush. That's it. Okay. We're on the home stretch. Rich, your hobby schedule this weekend. I know you got shows coming up. What's in your hobby future?
My hobby future today is absolute. This is a quiet weekend. The next Dallas card show's in 2 weeks, and then Kyle has his smaller show by his airport 2 weeks after that. I will probably buy either at my local card store or at the show a pro debut box because I like that. It's an inexpensive, fun rip. And I'm waiting for Topps Heritage minors to come out, and I hope we have Topps Heritage highs because usually I can afford those. Those are very affordable, and usually I can afford those too. And then we'll go from there. And I know that Triple Cards is planning, and with their family of stores, another Secret Santa like they had last year. And that should be a lot of fun. And I know I'm going to be involved in a couple of online Secret Santa things where I'm going to coordinate them and not run them. So I'm going to run them, but not participate. And I think I'm going to enjoy that. And we're getting to the holiday season, and I enjoy that. That's fun to watch people opening up things other people get for them. And that's always a blast.
Victor, what's your hobby weekend?
I'm going to be creating some content today. I'm going to be touching on some Michael Jordan cards that I'm thinking of getting back into the Jordan market a little bit since the prices have come down a little bit.
86 and a PSA 10?
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to be getting ready. I'm going to be going to the Dallas card show, so I'm excited about that. I got a fistful of Dirk Nowitzki PSA 10 rookies that I'm thinking about. I'm going to pull them out, take a look at them, see if this is something I really want to do, but maybe move into something, some kind of MJ card or something. We'll see.
I want to give a delayed and apologetic shout out to Rex and the Sports Card Shop and everything they do in getting us up. So I just wanted to give them a delayed shout out. I hope they've been watching. We really, appreciate that always. I've been to their store and big fan of it. So thanks, Rex, for everything you do. Guys, anything else before we head out?
Go Phillies.
Ooh.
Go a team from Houston. Hey, either way, I get a home state team.
Yeah, you do. You're doing good.
Rich, who are you pulling for?
This reminds me of 2010 when the Yankees were playing the Rangers in the ALCS. As a Yankee fan, I was rooting for them, but I knew I was getting World Series tickets. So part of me wanted to say, "Oh, I want to go to the World Series." So I'm really up. I grew up an Astros fan, but I have a good chance of going to the series if the Rangers go. So I'm like a little bit torn. So it's like I just want to see good baseball, and we've had good baseball. We even had a bench clearing brawl yesterday. When we had some excitement with a view your homer and slam down your bat and all sorts of fun stuff, and then he gets it on his next at bat, and we have a little bit of a problem before the inning concludes, and then Jose Altuve crushes that 3-run homer in the top of the 9th to win the game. It was like I had gone to services, and I'm sitting there, and somebody goes to me, "What a game!" And I look at the person, and I said, "Excuse me." Because I turned off the game with the score 4-2, and I don't bring my phone in, and I'm obviously not at synagogue going to be watching TV, even though this is a true story. One year for the High Holy Days, when I was in at the synagogue I would go to in those days for it, they would have a TV with the service piped in, and they got their wires crossed. And for 1 hour, we didn't get to see the service. We got to see a Yankees-Twins playoff game. Best service ever. And it was like, "Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, this is fine. Hey, I don't have to stand up or anything. I can watch the game." And finally, they realized the mistake just as the service was ending. And I go, "No, that's fine. This is the best service I ever went to."
I went one time before we leave. I went one time to hear Jimmy Carter speak, and in the middle of his speech, he stops, turned to Rosalind, and goes, "I need a Braves update."
Oh, wow.
She turned to her phone, read the score, and then he continued with his speech.
Nice.
So
many years ago, I went to a Rush concert downtown.
Sure.
And Geddy Lee, in between every song, wouldn't talk about the music. Geddy Lee's a huge baseball fan. Yep. He would talk about the baseball game and his favorite players for all that, then do the next song. So it was a great concert because I got to hear more about baseball than I did about music. It was perfectly fine by me.
Well, there's an old expression: musicians want to be athletes, and athletes want to be musicians. So,
and they all get the girls, so it worked out fine.
And the three of us will wrap up Hobby Hotline. How's that on that note? Everybody, this was a blast. Thank you. Needed it today. Victor, say goodbye. Rich, say goodbye.
Bye.
See you guys. Thank you.